We are officially live on the Shift Happens Facebook page. So, hi, Julie. I
Hi.
am really excited to have you here because this is very different what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah,
Um, yes, Julie Renee Doering. We're going to talk about how to regenerate cells in our brain, right?
that's right.
Yes, yes, which, is something you wouldn't think we can do, but nowadays we have so much more information and science to prove it, which I am excited about. So we're going to bring Aaron on. There he is.
Voice America in the house.
Hey, how are you?
Great. How are you?
I am awesome, Aaron.
Fantastic. I see we have another guest. Julie, how we doing?
I'm doing great.
Good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I just want to check your sound real quick. If you just count back from 5 to 1 for me, please.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. Sounding good. You can hear all right, Karin?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
That-
Well, then I think we're going to have an absolutely fantastic show.
All right. Sounds good.
2 breaks like normal?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, please.
I always check. You never know when shift's going to happen.
That's right. That's what we're all about.
Absolutely. All right. I'll be back in a few moments.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. Yeah. So, what kind of things do you have going? So Julie, also, if you want to open up your chat, because Aaron will be telling us when we have 4, 3, 2, he'll do the countdown to the commercial break. So we'll have 2 commercial breaks, and that will also help you, know when we need to, take off into
I see it. Yeah.
commercial. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Great. All right. So, how's California looking these days? How's the weather over there?
Oh, it's lovely. It's just beginning to be kind of autumn. We had 100 degrees for a couple days, Friday, Saturday last week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's really hot.
Yeah.
Now it was like in the 50s this morning.
Wow.
It'll get warm. It'll be like 80 today, but it's the nights are getting cold. So
yeah. Nice. Yeah.
It's actually really beautiful. I take my daughter for a walk 5:30 every morning. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
The stars and the moonlight and the owls hooting, and it's magical.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I was with a friend in downtown, my little town, and we were down by the.
Sorry to interrupt, Karin. It's just about showtime. Are you ready to rock and roll?
Absolutely. Always.
I love it. Let's have a great show.
Yes.
The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest.
Shame on me, Karin. I forgot to ask if you saw the test message.
Yes, I did.
Okay, perfect. Here we go.
Talk Radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Like so many others, who you are is largely a result of your past. We have so many positive and not so positive experiences that we start to doubt ourselves and our place in this world. Let the healing process start now. Welcome to Shift Happens with Karin Weary. When you start to focus on healing from the inside out, you'll learn so much more about your own health, your well-being, and your state of mind. Once you've started on that, the rest gets a little bit easier every day. Now, here is your host, Karin Weary, and this week's co-host.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Shift Happens. Tuesday is always my favorite day because I get to talk to all of you guys and my exciting guests, because what my vision really is with this show Shift Happens is to truly make things happen in your life, shift it for the better so that you have a better quality life, better quality relationships, better, it affects everything. And what I like to do also on this show is to open up the doors for other kinds of ways of healing ourselves that may not be the mainstream obvious thing. And, and this is where I came across Julie Renee Doering. And Julie Renee Doering is the #1 brain rejuvenation expert. She has mapped out the human blueprint and how to work in the quantum field for both clearing and cell regeneration in her groundbreaking book, Your Divine Human Blueprint. She has added words to her vocabulary with her quantum technique for regeneration called Cellular Neo-Genesis, and for her medically documented DNA obliteration for removing harmful DNA. She's the mentor to mentors and works with folks like Jack Canfield, Marcy Shimoff, and actress Barbara Niven, and a host of other celebrities. She trains students in her original quantum activation trainings, reaching into 81 countries with the miracle of live stream trainings. Prolific, she is a best-selling author of 12 books and has more than 150 trainings and 187 transformative meditations. Today, I am honored as she is here to share with us the results of her groundbreaking Cellular Neo-Genesis Brain Study. So welcome, Julie. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so this is something that I had never come across, but I saw the word quantum, and anytime there's anything about quantum in there, I'm excited because I want to know more about it. So, and you have certainly been through your own incredible transformation, dealing with a lot of health problems. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
I'd love to, yeah. I literally survived the atomic bomb testing in the Nevada desert when I was a child. We were on vacation in the desert, and they were doing underground bomb testing. I had 17 surgeries, multiple cancers. I actually died twice. I was in a wheelchair, told I would never walk without unbearable pain, and I would always have to rely on canes. And there was a point where I felt like I was living in hell.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I was percolating on it for about a week. And what came to me was that I had been promised the Garden of Eden and I was getting a raw deal. So I had earlier in my life, at 33, I'd gone to where Buddha was enlightened and sat under the Bodhi tree. And if you know the story of Buddha, all the wise men told him he could not be enlightened because he was the son of a wealthy king. He was wealthy. And wealthy people cannot be enlightened. Oh. And he proved everybody wrong. He went into his garden, and against all odds, after 40 days of meditation, he had become one of the most serene, enlightened beings that the planet has ever known.
Wow.
And with that idea in mind, all my doctors said, you can't get well, you will die, you have all this. I had all these terrible prognosis, and I said, I don't believe that, and I don't want to die a painful death. Mm-hmm. I went into my garden and said, God, take me or make me well. And really quickly, within a few hours, in my mind's eye, I started watching a master cell, a cell that was with me since birth, regenerating and going to its God state. And once it was in its God state, it became this pulsing blue orb. It was really incredible. It was a breakthrough for me because I'd always thought my body was of clay and my spirit was divine. But what I saw in that my body was also divine. Also part of that quantum field of oneness. And that I rapidly started regenerating and healing within 6 months, from walking really with every step being unbearably painful to joy in my step. I was running 30 miles a week on a mountain trail within 6 months. And I was back dancing on stage with a rock and roll band. She said, you'll never dance again. Put that out of your mind. You know, that's not your path anymore. And sure enough, my body was regenerating really rapidly. Yeah. And the doctors and scientists were looking at me going, because I had friends who were doctors and scientists going, what is going on with you? And that caused me to map out all the details of cellular neogenesis, how the body regenerates using the quantum field.
Yeah, that's incredible. What a story. And to have I can't even begin to imagine what it must have been like, not only to suffer from all the pain but constantly being told all these negative things. You're not going to live, you're going to die, you're going to have all this stuff, and surgery after surgery. That's so much trauma on the mind and the body.
Yeah. I think I was really frustrated because nobody believed in my capacity to heal. There was just no agreement. Every time there was a diagnosis, it was another one of these horrible things that you cannot heal from. And I remember when my neurotransmitter report came in years ago, and I had half of my neurotransmitters were working between 30 and 50%. The others weren't working at all. Mm-hmm. And I thought, yay, some of them are working. That's amazing. And the doctor who was looking at it was going, I don't even know how you can get out of bed. You should be depressed, and you should be filled with, anxiety and pain and depression and just laying on your bed, not moving. And I was like, hey, I got some of them working. That's awesome. And I always had this kind of look, if anything's working, it's good.
Yes. Yeah. And talk about how this is so completely a testimonial to the power of the mindset, because and that's really the crux also of Shift Happens, is that our mindset will determine everything else in our life.
It's so true. I think you don't have to believe in like the technique that I do, but you have to believe that your body can regenerate and that it can heal. If you're in the absolute, the doctor gave me this diagnosis and this is the way it is, and you have that so locked in, really very little is going to change in your body. And I know I get to ask that all the time, like a family member who's a student of mine is like, I'd really like to help so-and-so, but they don't want anything to do with something unusual. And I like, well, and I just muscle test or just energetically test, will they get anything out of this? If they're so committed to their diagnosis as being, this is who I am, they generally won't get a big shift. But people who are open-hearted, and I'll try anything, they don't have to understand it, and they're going to get a big shift. Yeah, because it's part of the quantum field. And if I could explain that a little bit, that would be. So we're all part of this field of oneness. And based on how our particles are vibrating. Well, let me back up a minute. There's two kinds of physics. There's Newtonian physics, gravity and the apple falling from the tree. There's quantum physics, particles vibrating, all part of a field of particles vibrating. Yes. And so now I'm going into the particles vibrating. Based on how your particles are vibrating, you get a good result or a less good result. And so what we're really doing when we do the activations, what I was shown by the divine in the garden years ago, was we're regenerating the cells on a cellular level, but we're organizing the way your particles are vibrating. So they vibrate in a wonderful way for you. I've grown back, helped people grow back surgically removed glands and organs. And, that's using the divine blueprint and rearranging how particles are vibrating. And you hear about people whose eye color changes overnight or something dramatic happens. That's a rearranging of how the particles are vibrating and what we believe about ourselves. Yes.
Yeah. And the thing is that our cells do regenerate all the time. It replicates, the old one dies off.
They do. Yes. But they do at a lesser level. Yes. And what we do is we get them to 100%, so they're at high function.
Yes.
And that's the thing, is that our cells are constantly regenerating, but if they're in a lower and lower pattern because they've been influenced, whether it's aging patterns, the DNA, toxins in the environment, what we're doing is we're canceling out the low function level and we're getting them to 100%, and then mirroring to the surrounding cells. So the stem and master cells get regenerated to 100%. Then all the surrounding cells get mirrored to 100%, and then a cascade of new cell growth from the stem cells. And those are going to be functioning at a very high rate. And so that's how we're bringing back like failed adrenals that are the size of a raisin 4 months later. Doctor's report says size of a plum, fully functioning. That's how we're doing it.
Yeah, that's incredible. And completely non-invasive.
No, it's what's so wonderful is there's lots of healing modalities. And I always say, well, I know people want to think of this as a healing, and you can think of it that way. I give you permission, but I don't think of it that way. I feel like this is an activation. We're activating the health of you.
Yes.
And so I'm not putting my energy in you. This is not making me tired. It's not making you tired. We're rearranging your particles. We're using your own quantum field. And the reason that it's working so rapidly is that we're in a really high vibration. So in this field, in where we are as we vibrate in this field, we're kind of have heavy, we're physical. In the transformation field or the pleasure field, we call it both the field of transformation or field of pleasure, those are going to be much higher frequencies. They'll be above unconditional love. That's where the transformation begins to happen. Yeah.
And so how do people get into that state of high vibration, high frequency?
Well, I have an academy, and I teach students from 84 countries now. And we do a few things. We pray. We bring in our divine helpers, angels and God and whoever we have. It's not religious, but it definitely is spiritual. And then we do an affirmation of the love wisdom affirmation. So we claim that we are entirely responsible for our body and how it plays out. And that if we've assigned blame, we take the blame back and we have full responsibility. So it's a very powerful affirmation. And then we move into a song, and we do it like an opening blessing. We sing usually a call to lighten, acknowledging that we're the guardians of the planet, and we bring in the light when we live beyond the illusion of the veil. And by then, and that's the first 5 or 6 minutes, by then we're at a pretty high frequency. We're setting an intention with the mind, and then we're doing a hand movement. And and then throughout, if we're doing like a brain activation takes about 3 hours. We're singing. I might be reading some poetry, might be reading some beautiful ancient scriptures, or we'll be singing. We'll be doing things like that to keep our energy high as we use one of the hand movements. This is one of the hand movements. There's many different hand movements. There's 12 of them. So setting an intention with the mind, doing a hand movement, and then just keeping our thoughts and our feeling uplifted.
Right. So with the hand movements, how does that actually work?
The hand movement, I got the first hand movement. This is quantum pump. So the elbow is down at the side and the hand is pumping forward and the fingers are loose and dropping. So that's the first one. And that one I used for a long time. It's been about 12 years since I've been doing the quantum pump. And through time, we've gotten different hand movements, and they access different things, like if you're clearing spiritual interferences or if you're activating cell regeneration, there are different ones. Clearing DNA, there are different hand movements. But the intention is set. So we'll be looking at a chart. For whatever we do, we're going to have an intention set. That chart will be, we're going to clear that chart, or we're going to do this regeneration. So we'll be making eye contact at least with the chart. So it's what the mind can conceive and believe it will accomplish. And then the hand movement actually moves right into the rearranging the particles. And like with just the basic pump, it's on the up movement that the particle is moving. On each of the 12 movements, I've defined where the movement happens. So it won't be happening on the bottom. It'll be happening on the top or whatever. There'll be a when it's happening even. So is that what you were looking for?
Yes. So when, because I know you've done a study, and that was one of the things that was brought to me.
Yes.
And we just have a little bit of time. Maybe you can introduce the study, and then after the first few messages, we'll get more into the study. How about that?
I'd love to do that. So we did a study we had 200 students participate in our Year of Miracles program, and we invited them to be part of, let's see what happens after the brain regeneration for 6 months. So we asked them the same questions every month for actually 7 months, because they did it before and they did it at the completion of 6 months. And we went through the whole process that I've been describing to you, and I'll do a greater detail of cellular neogenesis if you'd like, what that actually was for them.
Mm-hmm.
And we got, over a 6-month period, 25% increase in memory. So people were reporting, my memory is so much better. Vibrancy versus depression. And, you know, I always say we have kind of a global depression. There's this kind of subtle depression that's going on everywhere. Yeah. We had a 37% improvement in the area of vibrancy versus feeling depressed. So people felt much more optimistic. They just felt more hopeful. Yeah. Let's see. Relaxed versus headache, we had an 18% improvement. Sleep, 33% improvement. Excuse me.
Oh, bless you.
Edit that out.
There you go. Yeah.
And then the speech increase. And there were a few people that had like speech impediments, whether they stuttered or they had difficulty making words sometimes. There was a 15.5% increase in speech. And that was with just one 3-hour activation. Okay. And this comes around every year, so that I always encourage people to stay in 4 or 5 years, because if we're looking at 15 to 35% improvement in all aspects of the brain, it's just going to continue to get better. And where people think they have to grow older, I'm going to say you get to grow better.
I like that. That is my philosophy altogether. Yes. So let's go ahead and take a quick little break, but you'll want to hear more about the study, because who doesn't want to grow better? I know I do.
And we're clear. Hey, Karin, I got to tell you, you were lucky to get your show name when you did, because we had another person that was trying to get a show here, and they said, I've got the perfect name. Yeah. Shift Happens. We're like, nope. It's taken.
That's right. It's all mine. Awesome. I know. I love it.
Karin, how long have you had your show?
My very first show was November 6th of last year.
Okay, so it's coming up on a year pretty soon.
Yeah.
We got to celebrate.
Thank you. I know. Yeah, it's exciting. So it was first a 13-week pilot run, and then I went ahead and got a year contract. So this is good.
Awesome.
It really is. It's an amazing opportunity to connect with people like you, and you know, provide a platform for all kinds of great information. And yes.
That's wonderful. Well, you're doing a great service.
Well, thank you. So are you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, and so what, and I know because we're still live on Facebook, so that's just a small portion of the people, but we want to keep things a little interesting for people who are on Facebook.
Definitely.
Yes. And so do you do most of your work online, or?
I do all of it online.
Oh.
I changed my life a little bit. You might not know this about me, but I'm adopting children, high-risk children. So I've adopted a little girl. Okay. We had a little boy we lost this year in February. But my daughter will be 3 pretty soon. Oh. And we're in the running for another baby soon. So I used to travel like up to 6 flights a month, and to be with kids who are special needs, you need to be here. Yeah. So I created a lifestyle that I could teach. I'm just so glad. I think about like Jesus' era, where he had to walk around and teach people, and like it was a lot of travel. And we don't have to, because we have live stream and we have
20 seconds.
Every possible way to get on. So
that's wonderful. Yeah. There's a wonderful place for electronics, and sometimes it just gets more in the way. So when we can use it for good, I love it.
All right. Perfect timing. Here we go.
You are listening to Shift Happens with Karin Weary. Do you have a question or comment about today's program? If so, we'd love to hear from you. Call in to the live show at 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. Or send an email to karinw@insightscounselingcenter.com. Remember that Karin is spelled Karin. Now, back to Shift Happens.
Yeah, and if you could only see us jamming here to the music here, you would be laughing. I love to dance. To me, it's the spice of life. So I love it when they'll dance with me.
my daughter from the backseat, I was, Mommy, dance. We're driving around, and Mommy, dance. So
That's
was
good.
rocking out.
Yeah, there's nothing better. Yeah, so I have Julie Renee Doering on with me here as my special guest today, and we are talking about her incredible work, which is helping people regenerate their cells to become better, to work at 100%. And she's done this Cellular Neo-Genesis Brain Study where she had 200 students who did the work and then did some follow-up to see where they were. And so we introduced the study before this break, and now we want to go into more detail of the study. So Julie, tell us a little bit more. What did you do here?
Okay, great. So there was kind of an evaluation of how are we going to reward people for coming through the study. So we created a monthly follow-up that they'd come in and they'd sign in, and they'd get a guided meditation each month that would support them. And then they used the guided meditations every day because that kept them in the quantum field of transformation. And so we set it up so that it was kind of a win for everybody. Everybody got something good out of it. Then we had our activation. That was a 3-hour activation. And we did a big clearing chart, right? Permission and ability to, clear my brain to full function, removing domination, suppression, and control, and a big chart that had like 1,000 things we cleared on it: anchors and spiritual interferences, emotions, family energies, bloodline, DNA. We cleared so much. And then once everything was cleared, we shifted gears and we worked in regeneration. And cellular neogenesis works by activating the divine human blueprint and the perfected cell. And we were looking for the master and the stem cells. Now, in stem cell research, where they're originally getting the original stem cells that are being cultivated in a petri dish is usually from aborted fetuses, because that's where we think the stem cell and master cells are functioning at their highest function. But in what we do, we harm nothing. Nothing gets harmed because we're using what's already in you. We're not taking stem cells from something else and cultivating. We're taking what's in you and we're reactivating, reanimating the cell to its fullest function. I did a study, and we never turned it into something we would put out in the world, but I read 5,000 brains over 2 years. I did kinesiology with 5,000 people over 2 years. And what we saw in these 5 areas of the brain, the reptilian area was reptilian, emotional, creative, logical, and genius brains. So reptilian would be the first, the second brain, emotional, the third brain, right neocortex, creative, the fourth, left neocortex, logical, and the fifth, genius brain, the frontal lobe. And what we found was, I found in this study, was that we were seeing brain cell function at between 9% and about 27%.
Wow.
And only in rare cases was it over 30%. It was almost never over 27%.
Wow.
And so by working with that, it gave me a lot of information about what was needed to transform. Now, we do the cell transformation, and then it's up to you to use your brain. I would say, learn a new language, study mathematics, study science, start up an instrument. You want to activate those parts of the brain that we've restored the cells. Just like a muscle, we've done an activation on the muscle, that's nice, but where it's going to get strong is by working it out. So you want to work it out after we strengthen it. And that you can start doing like about 12 days after the regeneration. So the first step is activating the master and stem cells to 100%. And again, we're using the divine human blueprint, and we're really kind of reestablishing 100% function, which is so amazing, Karin, because even babies, I adopted my daughter at 20 hours old, and even babies, and I've read other of my clients' babies, come in between 40 and 60% function. They already are lower than the 100% at gestation, at conception. Wow. So understand that they're beginning to match what their parents, and they're going down, and at birth, they're like between 40 and 60% function. Wow. They're not at 100%. So that's really fascinating. So anyway, we get those cells all up to 100%. And then the next step is to make sure that the environment supports those cells in repopulating at 100%. So there's all these existing cells. We obviously don't kill off the brain cells. So all these cells that aren't master and stem cells that are surrounding it. And we use a mirroring process with the light of cell. And you can think of the light of cell as a little bit like the spirit of each individuated cell. Mm-hmm. It has, like if I smile at you, and you also, all of a sudden, you start feeling a little happy in your body, like, oh, she likes me. That feels good. Yeah. That is actually mirroring. That, your body recognizes something and it responds to something. So in the same way, we activate the mirroring program in the master and stem cells now that they're at 100%, and they smile at all the surrounding cells, essentially. And so that's that first kind of little flush. It might feel kind of light, or a little flood of light going through the body, because the whole body, brain will activate the brain, but a lot of times it just floods the whole body, that mirroring. So you feel this upliftment. Now we're ready to start the cascade of new cell growth, which is the third step. Mm-hmm. And that's done in the master and stem cells. There's the mitochondria. The mitochondria looks like a little caterpillar on the inside of the cell. It's very adorable. And I have this a lot of the things I see kind of cartoon-like. So tickle the belly of the caterpillar and he giggles, and out spurts all these new cells that begin to grow at 100%. And that lasts for 180 to 190 days for the brain. The brain is the longest regeneration that we get in the body is the brain. Mm. And so we're seeing over 6 months, it's about 6 months, that you're continuing to refresh and renew and grow new cells, so that over 6 month period, you have many, many millions of new cells in your brain, which is pretty miraculous. And then we have people drink half their body weight in water every day. And sipping is better than guzzling. So there's no bladder in the back of the brain. There's one way down below. So you're going to dehydrate after about 45 minutes. So you want to, every half hour to 45 minutes, have 2 to 4 ounces of water. And then you're meditating a half an hour a day using one of my meditations, which will take you into that field of transformation. And that's basically it. Mm-hmm. During the study, we did 2 30-minute tune-ups. That isn't normal, but it was just fun to do. Yeah. And we just had a wonderful journey. It was really fun to take 200 excited students who were seeing miracles happening, going, yay!
Yes. So did you have a prerequisite for the people to be a part of the study?
Nope.
Okay.
And a lot of the people came in with some brain dysfunction. Mm-hmm. In my one-to-one miraculous program, where I work just one-to-one with people, I have worked with everything, especially people who have had, so I work with really high-functioning people, and then the opposite, people have had massive strokes where they were very high-functioning and they're very low-functioning. And I've been able to get people back to pretty high-functioning within 10 days. It's amazing, the turnaround. I can think of a couple specific people. Davis was one of them, Elizabeth another. Davis, an executive who had a stroke, and it left him unable to speak, walk, or maintain he had to wear a diaper.
Yeah.
And within 10 days of the activation, Davis was walking, talking, using the bathroom. It was like a miracle.
Yeah.
Elizabeth she was really high-powered executive salesperson who traveled all over the world. And she was in a third world country, got Ebola, and it caused 6 strokes rapidly over a 24-hour period. And she lost everything, her ability to walk and talk and think. And within 45 days, hers was a little bit slower journey because she couldn't remember to do her meditations. It was really funny. I got a hold of her and said, honey, what's going on? And she goes, I don't know. And so we kind of reignited her and had somebody help her for the first few days, just use the meditations because it helps.
Yeah.
And honestly, night and day difference in 45 days. She was happy. She put her house on the market, moved down into a place where she could, have fun with her friends. And she was driving again. And, life was 100% better for her.
Yeah.
And I think about that. I've worked with children who have, I don't know what the politically correct word is, but one young woman, 21, she matured to age 6. And I was able to look into her brain and see that only the first and second brain were ever activated. So the survival and emotional brain, I was actually able to activate her 3 higher brains. And rapidly, she was getting a lot more function. She was able to calculate making change, and she was mentoring. She was like the big sister in the preschool class. And it was really fun to be watching her progressing.
Right. Wow, that's just incredible. And it sounds so maybe the one that was a high-powered executive that got Ebola, she may have made a complete lifestyle change after getting better.
She did. I think she did. Yeah, I think she made a total choice. She obviously was wealthy and established and made a choice to have some fun. After a real difficult situation. I think about Jack Canfield was one of my VIP clients, and he at 70 was just slowing down. This is a few years ago. And he had promised his wife he would stop being on the road so much and he would cut his schedule in half. I worked with him on the VIP one-to-one program. And 6 months later, I'm interacting with him, and we did a 12-week follow-up where we just spoke for a few minutes every week. He said his whole life changed. He was doing double what he was doing. Instead of cutting in half, he had more energy, more mental clarity. I mean, there was a song with my relationship improved, my weight improved, my mom. He had this huge list of 12 things that had improved, which was very exciting because Jack is like this high-powered, very influential inspiration. I mean, it's just like he's like a light in the world. And he gets to, that's what makes him happy. It makes me happy that he's out there doing his thing.
Absolutely. And that just that in and of itself, if you have that piece, what gives you joy, and you're out there shining that to the world. But then to be able to regenerate it and come back even better, that's incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so now I know that there are always skeptics out there. Yes, who will let's just say poo-poo something that is not the regular mainstream thing. What are some of the things? Because what are some things? How do you talk to them?
Well, everything was not everything that's mainstream now was not mainstream at one point in time.
Exactly.
So if you want to be on cutting edge, I have helped the Google VP. I've helped the former Priceline CEO. These high-powered techie people say, oh, we're old news. What you're doing is the future. And we want to, be part of that. So if you want to be part of the cutting edge future, if you want to, be the person who, no, I don't want to do Google. That's too risky, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
You can do that. You can be on the sideline and be a skeptic.
Yeah.
Or you can look at some of these brilliant minds who have said, I want some of that too. And we're working really hard. I'm working on languaging so that people get it, so that it's doesn't live in woo-woo land. Because we have a 300-page chart book that maps out every detail of everything that we do. So it's very mapped out. It's very spelled out. This is what it means. This is how it affects you.
Yeah. Is that your Divine Human Blueprint.
That's
book.
the big book. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, beautiful. Thank you.
Yes, I have it at
I actually
home.
have a chart book for apprentices that has every single detail of
Gotcha.
everything that we clear. The 600-page Your Divine Human Blueprint is a book that I wrote over several years, and it's got a lot of detail in there, a lot of good detail.
Yes,
and I finished that about 7 years ago. So of course,
Okay.
a lot has come in since then too. So
Yes.
we continue to add to our wisdom and knowledge, but that is an excellent primer for coming in and being able to understand. And I know a lot of my students say that they'll read it 5 times through, and that seems like unbelievable as somebody to read a 600-page book. I know Marcy, my girlfriend Marcy Shimoff, she wrote Love for No Reason. She said, "Oh, you're just stupid for writing a big book like that. Don't you know people only read 200 pages if they read it all?"
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, because I had 17 more chapters laid out. It probably would have. And she told me to stop. Just stop that nonsense right now and publish it. And I did. But then I get my students saying that they've read it through 5 times. So I think when you got a good book, you don't put it down and you want to learn more, you know?
Exactly. You know, and here's my thing is that people say now that they read at, I think now it used to be the 7th and then it was the 5th. And now I think I heard the 3rd grade level. So we need to write to them. I'm like, that not everybody reads at a 3rd grade level. How about some of us write to the level that we want people to be? Shouldn't we aspire to something?
Yeah.
Yes.
I heard some horrible thing that 50% of college graduates never read another book after they graduate from college. And that made me so sad to think that that's the state of our mind, and that we, you know, we're watching newsreels and, you know, things that are not useful for us.
Exactly.
And we're not enriching our lives and our souls and developing our philosophies and our spiritual connection and our wisdom, our love wisdom, or whatever. We're not doing it.
Right. Oh my gosh.
In the ways that we used to. And that actually our brain needs that. Our brain needs to be fed. If you don't feed your brain, it's going to go idle. It's going to be focused on crazy stuff.
Yes. And how about we delve a little bit into that when we come back from this next break, because I am very passionate about what you just talked about right there.
I love it.
Yes. So we will be right back. You'll definitely want to hear more about how we can rejuvenate our brains.
All clear.
All right. Excellent. This is so cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes. And yeah, I have your book at home and I've been reading it, and I know a lot of it, you know, even though I think quantum physics, you know, that's how I understand things, frequency and vibration and all that. But spiritually, that's where I feel that I am doing a lot of my growth, which I have kind of put on the back burner until recently. I'm trying to put that more in the forefront. And because it seems as though a lot of what you talk about in the book is also very spiritual. Would you
It is, yeah.
say, yeah.
Because I think that we get the best result also as we evolve.
Yes.
And yeah. And I don't know, we're missing something. We're in this frenetic field of chaos where I'm living on the top of a mountain out in the country, and I'm not living in the frenetic field, but I think if you could, even out here you could, because there's constant email and texting and, you know, social media, and there's, you know, newsreels going, and there's constant, and nobody is actually taking the time to know themselves. And
yes. Yeah, hit the nail right on the head. So I think that would be that. Let me jot some, because I need to do some of this brain Neo-Genesis here for my memory. And yes. So yeah, just writing a little note
20 seconds.
myself. All right. Oh, and so Aaron, he wrote here, this music always gets everyone dancing. I get weird looks from my coworkers.
I saw that.
10 seconds. But I don't care. I'll dance on.
All right, cool. We can't see you dancing, Aaron.
Yeah, I'm missing out on the image there. We just got a little tiny spot image there.
I'm a mystery. Here we go.
You are listening to Shift Happens with Karin Weary. Do you have a question or comment about today's program? If so, we'd love to hear from you. Call in to the live show at 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. Or send an email to karinw@insightscounselingcenter.com. Remember that Karin is spelled Karin. Now, back to Shift Happens.
We are talking about something that's really cutting edge, and I am super excited to have Julie Renee Doering here today, where we are talking about literally being able to upgrade your cells so that those upgraded cells are working at 100%, because sadly, our brains, our cells just aren't there at all. We tend to be operating, you were saying, at 9 to 27%, which
Exactly.
is, oh my God, we're missing out on so much.
Yeah.
And so,
well, even if you think about how you interpret things, if your cells are only working at that very small level, you're missing, even watching a movie, you'd only be seeing a part of it. You wouldn't be seeing the whole picture. Or looking out on the scenery, you'd only be seeing a part of it. You wouldn't be, actually, your brain wouldn't be giving you all the information that's actually there.
Yeah. So this is just absolutely fascinating that we can, because the other part is that we know how people have spontaneously healed from all different kinds of things, stage 4 cancer and this, that, and the other. And people who have studied it, what they say that what happened was that they were able to tap into this spiritual side, this feeling of being oneness, which you mentioned. And this sounds to me what you have made more into a protocol and figured out, how do we tap into that space? Would you say that?
Yeah, that's true. I think that is true. I think one of the things that I've really worked very hard at is making it very accessible and very easy for anyone to be able to do that. And by setting up a set of kind of rules or protocols that we follow every time, we consistently get improved results for everyone.
Yeah. And as I was mentioning during our break, was that as I'm reading your book, the Divine Human Blueprint. Your Divine Human Blueprint, which basically goes over everything that we're talking about here, and how a lot of it is very spiritual. And you were mentioning how this is a space that's very much needed for our brain to develop. Was that what I heard? Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, I was just feeling like, and I've been talking about this a lot in the academy classes, is that we've been so part of a frenetic field of emails and social media and newsreels and, looping, that we never really settle into ourselves and ask ourselves, who am I and how do I feel, and help ourselves to evolve and move into a greater space of love wisdom. It actually takes 20 to 25 minutes once you've checked your social media loop or whatever it is you're checking, to actually come back to yourself. Even if you've shut it off, it takes 20 to 25 minutes. And so we are constantly in that frenetic field, that frenetic loop, because people, the average teenager sends 4,000 texts a month.
Wow.
Based on that, every 6 minutes, they're sending a text of their waking hours. And adults can be even worse. I was going to say. Adults can be worse.
Yeah.
And the same with social media. Did somebody. There's a reason that we're doing it, though, because we've lost the one-to-one genuine communication and the genuine body-to-body love. We're not doing as much of that. We're doing more on social media and we're living more out of our frenetic field energy.
Mm.
And you're getting, every time you get a like on Facebook, you have a little dopamine hit. Oh, somebody likes me. Every time somebody sends you a text, oh, I'm important. And it's releasing dopamine, which is a little bit like cocaine.
Yep.
And it's definitely an addiction. There's a physical response that
Yep.
you're getting trained, but it's keeping you in your reptilian brain, just to know that's in the little kind of the Pavlovian dog responding to the buzzer. You're doing that now. You're responding to the buzzer, and then you're getting your little hit of dopamine in your brain.
Yes.
Well, we love to see, and that's what I've been working on really hard with my students lately, is getting out of that frenetic field. Because where we are us really authentically growing in love wisdom, and our frequency is getting higher, we're transforming at a more rapid rate. I mean, some of the projects we're working on are lifetimes that are much longer. 5 areas in the world live. Japan is one of them, an example of 100 to 120. There's 70,000 people living over 100, between 100 and 120. We're looking at a different reality of how do we actually use our body to 700 years. And 700 years, why are we using so little of the brain, 4 to 10%, with the geniuses using maybe 10%, is because it's set up to live much longer lives. And we have, on the path that we're on right now, even though there are areas that are extended, the way that we're using our body, people are worried. They don't want to live more than 100 years because they don't want to lose their mind and they don't want to be decrepit. And what we're working on is, if you thought you were going to live in an old person's body, an 80-year-old decrepit person's body for 600 more years, you wouldn't want to do that.
No.
But if you thought you were going to live in a 30-something's body for 600 or 700 years, that would be pretty exciting. Right. And then if you broke the glass ceiling of, just began to think of, what could I do if I could live to 150 years? How could I help humanity? And you started living out of that. Like, how could I help humanity if I live 200 years? And you start working on those kinds of bigger projects. You have a container to live a much longer life.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's totally thinking outside the box, huh?
Yeah.
Yes. The possibilities that are available. And again, I, so much believe in that. We get trained to believe that, I hear all the time, at 40, your body starts to ache and aches and pains, they're just there. And so on and so forth, that you're just starting to fall apart. And yes, there is an aging process, but what can we do to push that out as far as possible?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are lots of things that you can do.
I honestly think you have to live into life as if you're going to live it a very, very long time. I'm 62. Mm-hmm. I adopted Adelia at 58. I was in the process of adopting Virgil this year at 61. And I am in the process again. I've just filled out all my paperwork for another baby. So I plan to live a very long life and see my grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And my grandmother lived to 99, 2 distant relatives, 107, 109. We have good enough genes that it can be done. Yeah. And then what we're working on in the academy is that deeper level of transformation. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that stops us is that we stay in the sympathetic nervous system too much. The parasympathetic system is the relaxed system. It's where we experience when we're meditating. And that's where the regeneration happens. And if you're on high alert a majority of the day, your body isn't in a regenerative nature. And right. So we're looking at, how do we move out of that field of frenetic energy that I've talked about with all the computer stuff, but maybe even stressors, how you allow stressors to affect you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And that is the area that I work a lot in as a therapist, and with the modality that I use, EMDR, and it's all about basically speeding up neuroplasticity in the brain. And one of the things that so many people, their main thing is, I can't turn my brain off. It's just going, and then people can't sleep, and then when you're not sleeping, then your body isn't getting to do the healing process that it's supposed to do, and it's just this horrible negative cycle. And like you said, when we are never turning things off because we are afraid, oh my God, we're going to miss a call, or what if this happens? You know what? used to live not very long ago, and we didn't have the cell phones. And
Yes.
somehow the world continued to move on
Yes, yes.
without us.
Yes.
Yes. So we are not that important, even though we might think that we are.
I heard a statistic that blew me away. I was listening to a lecture. It was from 2016, but it was a good one. 4,220 people walked into traffic with their cell phone and died in 2016. 4,220 people just were looking at their cell phone, walked into traffic, and were killed.
Wow.
You think, oh my God, people walking off cliffs and dying because they're looking at their cell phone. It's like we are so obsessed, addicted, compulsed to live with. The same speaker was saying, you might be able to leave your house without your wallet or purse and think, it's okay, I'm just going to go there and come back. You're not going to leave without your cell phone.
Yep, exactly.
You're going to have a panic attack and drive back. It doesn't matter. You've got your phone. You got to have your phone.
Yes. Oh my God, I am totally lost without it. Yeah, so interesting observation. And because here's the thing that I also believe, even though we have gotten into some rut and built up some habits, and we have certain things that have happened to us, we can make a conscious choice to make those changes. Now, those changes aren't always easy to make. There's some withdrawal period of time and whatnot, but I encourage people to experiment. Even if you don't believe it, just experiment, play with it, see what happens. You have to do it more than a couple minutes, more than a day, but give it a couple of weeks or so and see what happens, because you just might find that you benefit incredibly from it. So, Julie, how can people work with you and learn more about what you do and the work, and just how to work with you?
Well, you said something that was just so perfect for this question. You were saying about your mind being quiet or not being quiet.
Yeah.
And of course, with the brain regeneration, the brain gets very quiet. You don't have any voices. It just goes. Shoo.
Wow.
It's pretty fantastic because the nervous system also heals at the same time. But we have a program, julierenee.com/quiet mind. It's a gift for you. It tells you a little bit about the brain regeneration, has a nice piece of information about that. You get a quieting meditation, a 5-minute meditation that helps quiet the mind. And then you can just visit me on julierenee.com, the site, if you'd like to work with me one-to-one, or you'd like to be part of a group. We do brain regeneration every year. We do the full body. In Year of Miracles, we regenerate the entire body from head to toe over the course of a year. It's 3 hours a month that we do, 1 3-hour marathon kind of clearing activation. And then we wait 4 weeks and then we do the next one. So if you'd like to check that out, the group program, that's Year of Miracles, and the one-to-one program is the Miraculous Transformation Program.
Okay, that sounds great. And I will go ahead and post some of these links and on our Shift Happens Facebook page. And that's an easy way to interact with us. We love your feedback. We want to hear what you think. So I want to thank you so very much, Julie, for coming on here and sharing this incredible modality that you are working with, and just the transformations that you have happen is just miraculous. So thank you for the work you do.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you so much for the service you do to the world and the beautiful interviews that you do. You are a light in the world and really a beacon of hope for everyone.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And next week, you want to tune in because we're going to shift gears altogether. We are going to be talking about money because that does affect us incredibly as well. So with that, I want to go ahead and encourage you to take what you want to take, leave what doesn't work for you, go ahead and practice it, play, be you, and shine your beautiful light. We will see you next week.
And we're clear. Great show, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
you are as welcome as the flowers in May. You both have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you next week.
Thanks. You too, Aaron.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh, what was it? There was one thing I wanted to. Oh, I
Yeah.
wanted to let you know if you wouldn't mind. And then I know you might have to run, but we are planning on myself and I have two co-hosts on doing a live event in June or July of next
Ooh,
year, and we are looking for some of the people who were guests if they
okay.
would like to be part of that. So.
Yeah.
Uh,
Where is it a live event online or is it in person?
well, we were planning on having it in person
And where would it be?
in Florida. We don't have any details yet other than we would
Okay.
have it here in Florida.
Yeah.
Um, and so, but yeah, just kind of throw it out there. And when we have
Yeah.
more information, I'll share it with you and then you can, but at least you have an interest. So that's good.
Yeah, that would be fun. I'd have to find someone who could care for my daughter while we were there.
Yes.
She would probably like to come to Florida, so we'd
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
just figure that out.
All right.
Yeah,
Excellent. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Julie.
you're so welcome. This was very fun. I really
Good.
enjoyed it.
Good. I'm glad. And I will give you an embed code, which you
Okay,
can use to post wherever you want, website or
great. We
whatever.
put it everywhere. We have it all over
Great.
the site, and we send it out to our following. So,
Beautiful. Wonderful. All right. Take care,
yeah.
Julie.
All right, Karen. Bye bye.
Bye bye.